Chapter 8. The boy spent the rest of that afternoon wandering the streets of that neighborhood, making it his business to search for a cheap restaurant to go to during the days of distress, which are all days, except for the first and second days of every month, and he found what he was looking for on Montelmontagne Street. It is a quasi-bar, in which cleanliness is characterized by low expenses. He read on a cardboard sign hanging on her door that the price of a full meal and a bottle of wine is exactly 5 francs. It was noon. Mohsen felt hungry, so he entered that restaurant and took a seat in one of the corners. The boy came and asked for a slice of ox meat, grilled with potatoes, and sat reassured in his seat, examining the faces of those present. They were all from the working class, those who rejected the fork and knife and cut bread and meat with a pocket knife. But the boy was not averse to those bare forearms, sweaty foreheads, and clothes dripping with misery. Mohsen does not always feel like he is in his place, except among people like these. One day prosperity drives him to a luxurious restaurant. He always enters it afraid, like a stranger. The boy began to bite his loaf lightly while waiting for lunch, and listened deep within himself to this quatrain from Omar Khayyam's quatrains. If you want to know serenity and peace, hump the miserable people of life, those weak and poor people who tremble in their misery, then you will achieve happiness. Yes, he actually finds in himself now something of that quiet, pure happiness in this humble place. He heard a conversation nearby, between the obese restaurant owner and a worker with a pale face and a sharp look. "I will not eat your meat today. I'm sick." The innkeeper said with pity, "Yes. I see that. You live alone, as far as I know, Monsieur Ivan." "I am always alone in life." This last phrase caught Mohsen's attention, not because it had a sad tone, but because the boy imagined that he, alone, always lived alone in life. He knew that the Mutazilites today were few, and you feel love and appreciation for those who do not want to live except within themselves. This is because few people have a spacious and rich soul in which they can live and do without the outside world. He always believes that true ascetics are nothing but people who have souls like paradise, split by rivers, illuminated by suns, and in which treasures sparkle. It is a world of temptation and magic, with no end to its wonders and secrets. He slowed down the plate of soup for his sick worker neighbor, when he saw that he had taken out a book from his pocket, and began devouring its pages instead of eating. Mohsen wished he knew the title of the book. His curiosity prompted him to lean his body and peek, and the man's eye surprised him. The boy was confused and pointed to the book. "Excuse me for this curiosity. I love books. There is no doubt that this is a delicious book." The man sent him deep looks and did not say anything, but he extended his hand, and the boy saw the address on the cover, so Mohsen was able to read. Capital, Karl Marx. The day had not passed until a gentle friendship developed between Mohsen and that poor worker, and they became intimate with each other. Just as the stranger is friendly to the stranger, which is the reality. This man is Russian. He left his country a few years ago, and he is also one of those who live on reading, thinking, and solitude. He invited the boy to his small room in which he lives in one of the workers' homes, and Mohsen saw the books piled up in the room. Everywhere, and Mohsen did not discover anything about the man's insecurities, but he felt that the man was deeply happy to know him. He said while preparing tea for him, on a stove in one of the corners, "I feel that the severity of my illness has eased a little since our meeting. I do not know why." He gave the boy a cup of tea, and he sat on an old white wooden box. He honored his guest with the only chair in the room, and Mohsen took a sip while saying, "And you, Monsieur Ivanovich, don't you like tea?" "I prefer a shot of vodka. This drink and Tolstoy are all I love now from Russia." Mohsen noticed some bitterness in the man's words, so he said to him naively, "How is that?" "Russia is now a paradise for the poor." The man answered him as if addressing himself, "Do you think? The paradise of the poor will not be on this earth." The man was silent for a while, then he got up to the bottle of vodka and took a sip of it while saying, "You are also one of those who believe in this myth. Paradise for the poor. I've thought about it a lot, and who hasn't? That is the unsolved problem of the world. There are rich and poor, happy and unhappy on this earth. For this problem alone, the apostles and prophets appeared." "Monsieur Ivan, I do not see your opinion that the problem has not been solved. The prophets have come from heaven with the best solutions. The man thought for a while, then said as if addressing himself, "Are you your prophets?" "Yes, this is permissible." The East solved the problem one day. There is no doubt about it, the prophets of the East understood that equality could not exist on this earth, and that they could not divide the kingdom of the earth between the rich and the poor, so they included the kingdom of heaven in the division, and made the basis of the distribution between people, earth and heaven, together. So whoever is deprived of luck in the paradise of earth, his right is preserved in the paradise of heaven. This is beautiful. If these principles continued, and these beliefs remained until today, the whole world would not boil in this blazing furnace. But the West also wanted to have its prophets, who would address the problem in a new light, and this time this light was emanating from the interior of the earth, not coming from the heights of the sky. It was the light of modern science. Then our prophet Karl Marx came, bringing with him his earthly Bible, Capital, and he wanted to achieve justice on this earth, so he divided the earth alone among the people, and forgot the sky. So what happened? It happened that people grabbed each other's necks, and a massacre occurred between the classes in a rush for this land. Mohsen pondered these words for a moment, then said, as if addressing himself, "It is like someone throwing an apple among children who are studying." He dropped the bomb of materialism, hatred, eagerness, and haste among people, the day people understood that there is nothing but earth, the day he took heaven out of the reckoning, because modern economics does not know the sky. As for the prophets of the East, they cast the flower of patience and hope into the souls, the day they said to the people, "Do not perish on earth, earth is not everything, there is something other than the land, and you will have something else that is included in the distribution. Man does not live for bread, nor does he live for bread alone." Oh, the prophets of the East are truly geniuses. The man was silent for a while, then he went on to say, "The spirit of Christianity, as it emerged in the East, is love and the ideal. The spirit of Islam, faith and order. The new day Christianity in the West is Marxism, and it also has its ideal, not in people's love for one another, and preaching to the poor about the kingdom of heaven, and urging them to give to Caesar what is Caesar's, and to God what is God's. Rather, he lured them into a kingdom established on the ruins of a class and the remains of a class, and advised them to attack Caesar and take what is Caesar's. And the gospel of this religion, the book, Capital, also contains frightening predictions in some of its pages. Like the predictions of John in his visions, in it, he promised the collapse of this world, and the arrival of another world made up of workers alone. What bodies move without heads on their shoulders? What a frightening dream! As for the Islam of the modern era in the West, it is fascism, and it also has the character of faith and order. Faith not in God, but in a human leader and a system that does not lead to social balance through humility and zakat. It is a regime imposed by the hand of terrorism, to lead to the ambitions of colonialism and aggression against weak peoples. This religion also has its book and its pulpit, sermons that are inflamed, not with the heat of a heavenly doctrine, but with the heat of animal power and bloody gluttony. Oh, friend! These are the religions that the West was able to bring to the people, when it wanted to compete with the East and bring religions to the world. Mohsen raised his head after a long bow, then said, "This statement amazes me, Monsieur Ivan, and you are one of the workers." "Yes, I am one of the workers and one of the poor, but unfortunately I have a head that thinks. I know that all the promises of the new West religions are nothing but deception of the workers and the poor. Marxism and fascism have taken their ways and methods from the East religions, and they understand very well that the prophet's entire plan is to win over the dissatisfied, the complaining, and the needy, who are the many. Victorious. This is what Jesus and Muhammad did. Did anything other than slaves, the poor, and the weak follow them at first? This is because the class of the contented and affluent does not need to follow anyone. And yet they are a rare few in the midst of the mob. The mobs are the support of religion, and they are the power in the hand of the prophet. The European prophets of the modern era understood this well and studied the technique of prophecy at the hands of Eastern professors, so they built everything on one foundation: demagogues. And they began to compete in pleasing these masses of people with promises, realistic, short-term promises, and here is all the stupidity of these prophets. The rivalry between the two religions seems to me very dangerous. And I predict to you, From now on, the occurrence of a kind of war between Marxism and fascism, in which mobs will mobilize against mobs, and corpses will be scattered, and body parts will fly. This is all our gain. They will not even spare us that delicious illusion and consolation. The beauty in which the true prophets of the East immersed us. What illusion and what consolation! Paradise of heaven, and the kingdom of heaven. You call this an illusion? Oh, sorry. You are a believer. How happy you are. And how lucky you are.